Prism covers other things as well. For example, at the episode level, we cover things that are related to the operational aspect of the episode. So when we think about checkout, things like how long did you wait in line to check out? If we think about picking up your order, how long did you wait inside your car for the pickup order to be handed off to you? But we also cover things outside of the operations themselves, such as soft skills, the availability of the staff, how friendly was the staff. These are things that companies can also get from their internal surveys, but they have fewer points of reference when we think about other players within the industry. And so they may understand how they're doing themselves, but being able to compare themselves to the leader and how well the leaders are doing is really where we can start to see the power of Prism shine through. Hi, Melissa. It's great to see you again. My name is Royce, and I'm on the US retail team here at NPS Prism. I'm really excited to talk about all things convenience with you today.
Thanks. It's great to chat. I'm so excited to take a look through the latest findings where we'll cover some of the relationship, trip, and journey level things that we're seeing across the retail space, but especially in convenience.
I think a great place to start off is looking at who's leading the way in the industry for the convenience customer experience and what do customers value most when they think about convenience as an industry.
Great place to start. So, right now we're seeing Wawa, Amazon, and Publix as the leaders in the industry. What they really do well is winning over on some of these key purchasing criteria that matter most. That's having a convenient way for their consumers to shop, whether that's close proximity of locations in their neighborhood, an app or website that's at their fingertips. We also find that things like offering the most affordable items are important, as well as having the right assortment mix and availability in store when the customer is there looking. One thing I did want to call out is that while Amazon is a leader, there's really two ways that we're seeing this remain competitive for these brick and mortar locations. So everyone knows that Amazon has a customer centric approach, and we really see them shine on a number of key purchasing criteria. They really are in a league of their own when it comes to things like having items in stock, finding the product, having that large assortment, and then really following through on the delivery aspects of the experience with great windows, reliability, low fees if you're a Prime member. But we also see that Wawa is quite competitive, and their approach to winning looks much different than Amazon. In Prism, we cover 17 episode or journeys. So when we get a read on the specific aspects of the experience, things like checking out in store, browsing the aisles, how when you experience an item being unavailable, that's where we have Wawa truly leading on these individual interactions. So we're able to see and contrast that both of these approaches have significance and are, of course, customer centric. But it's interesting that Wawa is just as competitive by winning the customer over on these individual moments and building their brand loyalty and advocacy from there.
Very interesting. Yeah, I feel like Amazon has their fingerprints over everything nowadays. So it's really good to know that even though they have their own way of doing things and they can do really well in that, there's more than one way to win in this space. You mentioned checkout a few times. Can we talk more about the checkout experience? We know this is a very high incidence episode given almost every consumer will experience this at some point. But we also know from groceries that this is a high detractor creating episode. It's really painful for the customer to go through the checkout experience in groceries. What are we seeing in convenience?
Absolutely. There's a lot of parallels to grocery here. I think the fundamentals are very similar. A successful checkout experience and convenience has efficient cashiers, friendly cashiers, lines that are less than 5 minutes. That's stuff that you've probably seen as well in grocery be true. One thing we're seeing specifically is that in terms of the actual checkout episode, the smaller store formats are leading. We've got the gas stations, the retail pharmacies really leading the way, outperforming some of the mass merchants and grocers. However, this makes sense. In a convenience store, you're probably grabbing a few select items, less likely to end up behind that overflowing cart. Just happen to pick the wrong lane and that's slowing you down and getting out of the store. But when we think about checkout, these soft skills do come forward and help to save the episode. For example, leaders like Publix In our grocery instrument, we've seen that their generous staffing model and really those soft skills come through and perform really well. So it does make for for a better and more positive customer experience.
Moving on to a different episode, what about order pickup? Pickup specifically at the curb or in store. This is another area that we've seen a lot in groceries start to trend up in terms of incidents over the years, and retailers have gone better at it. What are we seeing in convenience?
Yeah, we see some similar themes. The pickup episode is promoter creating for most retailers. Some of the underlying fundamentals to get this right include having clear notifications that the item's ready, having those easy to spot pickup locations, kind of encompassing that clear signage properly placed in the format of the store, having the staff there that's at the ready to really kind of retrieve and hand over that item that was ordered. And wait time expectations there are typically about 10 minutes. One example here is, we really see Target do well on this episode. Those key drivers and indicators and KPIs around pickup location and easy to find and contact staff are really where they excel. And when we look at things like the wait time, that's really one of the the levers where they're on par with most other players in the space.
That's great to hear. I think just shifting gears to another episode, product unavailability. I know me personally as a shopper, whenever I go in the store and I can't find the item I'm looking for, whether it's out of stock or I just don't know where it's located in the store, that's really frustrating for me. And I know that's true for a lot of other customers. What are we seeing on the convenience side of things for product unavailability, both in store and online?
Absolutely. So regardless of the channel being used, what we can see in our data set is that the leaders in this space have significantly fewer customers experiencing items being unavailable than those that perform poorer. Typically, about a 25% difference in the instance of this happening. It's really a great case where, honestly, if you can't avoid this from happening, given some of the complexities of supply chain, there are different levers that you can use to make it hurt less for a customer if you can't avoid it. At a glance, our data proves that when a customer finds that an item's not available, the most painful part of that experience is having to abandon the purchase. Something that hurts a little less, while not ideal, is purchasing a substitute. So having those strategically placed within the store, or even if you perhaps think about some of the signage of this item is not available, arrow, look to your right for a different size or a flavor or something to that effect, certainly can help a lot. And then lastly, of course, if you ever wanted to nudge that consumer to perhaps purchase in store or online, if it's one of those critical or essential purchases, it's still a bit painful, but it really can help save the episode when a customer wants to make the purchase. The one last thing I did want to mention is here's another place where we can start to talk about coupons. When we think about some of the retailers who are really struggling with item unavailability, what we're finding is a pattern where these retailers have a higher share of customers with a coupon in hand for the item that's unavailable. So when you think about it, the customer's enticed, intrigued to get this deal, and it's almost like an invitation for them to be disappointed.
Wow, no, I totally agree with everything you said. If I have a coupon for an item and I go in and I can't find the item, it's almost a double whammy where I was expecting to have this item at a lower price. And not only did I not get the item at a lower price, I didn't get the item at all.
Absolutely. And some things that we can find to save that experience as well. Some other tricks of the trades would be, offering a substitute, as we mentioned, or almost like an IOU of if there's an expiration date there, can I put this towards a future purchase if I'm unable to do so now?
Definitely. Either way, it sounds like this experience is something that is really painful for the customer, no matter what happens when it does happen. And so, probably something that retailers should work to mitigate the incidence of going forward.
Absolutely.
Well, we have 17 episodes slash customer journeys that we cover in Prism. That is a lot of material and data to go through. Where can someone start within Prism in understanding where they sit in the convenience experience end to end in the customer journey?
Yeah, there's a wealth of knowledge and insights available within the tool. As you mentioned, some of the best starting points when we think about making improvements really begin. There's a number of factors to consider, but I would say absolutely the emotiveness of an episode. So when we think about the experiences that drive promotion, leaning into those, whether it's the channel or nudging people to use that aspect of the experience, and then perhaps leaning less into or trying to avoid those detractor creating instances. Incidents is also something to take a look at. How often is this encountered? Being able to get a sense of who's really able to drive a lot of adoption. Let's say if the curbside is going really well for X player, how can you mimic what Target is doing? How are they able to get that adoption, and what can you take as a lesson learned from them? And then similarly, I think it's really great to have a view of gap to leader. So this is where you can really see on an episode by episode basis, what does best in class look like? Because we know that not all episodes are going to perform comparably on a scale, right? Browsing the aisles might be able to reach a peak at 80 NPS points, but something like an item being unavailable, maybe the best case scenario is an NPS of 10, where I'm just not going to really lose as much advocacy. So, this does help nicely to size up where experiences are lagging in the context of the broader peer set.
Got it. And I know Prism covers other things as well. For example, at the episode level, we cover things that are related to the operational aspect of the episode. So when we think about checkout, things like how long did you wait in line to check out? If we think about picking up your order, how long did you wait inside your car for the pickup order to be handed off to you? But we also cover things outside of the operations themselves, such as soft skills, the availability of the staff, how friendly was the staff. These are things that companies can also get from their internal surveys, but they have fewer points of reference when we think about other players within the industry. And so they may understand how they're doing themselves, but being able to compare themselves to the leader and how well the leaders are doing is really where we can start to see the power of Prism shine through. And lastly, we also cover other perceptions, things like the clarity or timeliness of notifications. How was it easy to find where to pick up the order? So things around the pickup location and signage and other measures.
I think you're totally right. And what we often find is that when we look at these KPIs and underlying drivers, they typically are number one, the most tangible action items that a company can take, right? If you make a game plan to enhance signage, you can really quickly get a check of if you're moving the needle on that measure. And then often what we see if it is significant to the experience of that episode, we then see it translated in that episode score moving directionally along the same lines.
Fantastic. Well, Melissa, it was really great talking to you today, and I really appreciate you taking the time and really excited to see when the next wave of data comes out.
Absolutely. We should connect sometime. We just had our most recent fielding wave released at the end of February, and we pull up with new insights every 90 days. So let's check in after the next quarterly refresh.
Sounds great. Talk soon.